Mothers trying to hide the sex of their children, wrapped the child in a white cloth. All the other girls had long hair, only she had to cut her hair bald, leaving the hair towards the boys, though small in stature, but she could drink 5 bowls of wine in one gulp, even when she had her period. Her mother closed the door, for fear of being discovered. Their child was a girl. He was brought up as a boy, and it was his father who caused all this. His father was a famous local wrestler. He had won many honors in his life, but there was one thing that was a sore point in his life. He had 3 daughters, but none of his sons could inherit that glory. Even his opponent taunted him with his son. "So what if he beat me? I have a son. You don't." A few days later his wife was due to give birth to her 4th child. With great anticipation, he thought it would be a boy, but the midwife came out and told him it was a daughter again. He was devastated, so he made a bold decision to raise his daughter as a son. He announced to everyone that he had given birth to a son, and he named the baby after a man. The camera pans around. Taiping grew up. His father took him with him every day. He didn't allow him to associate with anyone. Taiping grew up thinking of himself as a man. He said that when he grew up, he wanted to be a wrestler like his father. His father was very happy. Mother bought Taiping a hairpin not long ago. Father was furious when he found out. The father had a big fight. He beat his wife into mute. In the end, his mother was thrown into the cellar, and this lesson made Taiping realize he had to be a boy himself, with his mouth full of words, never to touch a woman's thing again. Years later, he grew up to be a boy. He looked like a man with his hair and eyes, and at his sister's wedding, he said, "Next year, I'll find myself a daughter-in-law." But due to the physical limitations of women, Taiping was always shorter than the boys. The son of his father's rival, Ah Hang, often bullied Taiping in private. He would always get into a fight with Taiping, but in fact, he admired Taiping from the bottom of his heart. One day Taiping came to a dark cave, put on his clothes and wig. He dressed up as his original self. He couldn't help but shed tears. How he wished he could live freely, but for the sake of his father, he had to disguise himself as a man. This boy is actually a girl. For the sake of his father's honor, he had to disguise himself as a boy. On this day his parents went to visit his sister. Taiping couldn't sleep at home alone. Then he changed into female clothes, riding freely on a horse. On the other hand, Ah Hang couldn't sleep because he was not satisfied with the match arranged by his family. He rode his motorbike to take a break. He saw a woman by the river. He took a closer look and found the body of a peaceful woman, and fell in love with him at first sight. That day, Taiping changed into a woman's dress in a cave. Ah Hang suddenly appeared. He promised to help Taiping keep his secret. The two of them soon became partners. From then on they began to date frequently. Taiping became a woman. They were brothers and lovers at the same time. The relationship between the two men soon aroused the suspicion of Ah Hang's secret admirer, Aya. Became suspicious. He came to the cave and saw the two together. He carefully identified Taiping's daughter's body. The next day, Aya spread a rumor that Taiping was a demon who was not a man or a woman. He also asked her to strip Taiping of her clothes to find out who she was. At that moment, Ah Hang arrived in time to stop them. Ah Hang told them that Taiping was a boy. Aya said threateningly, "Your father will soon find out about this. If he finds out that his identity has been exposed, he would be furious." Taiping cried to Ah Hang, "Can't I live my whole life? Can't I live a real girl's life? I also want to get married and have children. I want to be as happy and prosperous as my sister and her family." But their love was destined to be turbulent. Soon my father came back. Rumors reached my father too. The neighbors laughed at my father. The father blamed his wife. His father gave him a hard time. He felt it was all his wife's fault. Not a single son was born, and Taiping was locked up by his father. Ah Hang found someone to lure his father away. He asked Taiping to the cave. He decided to give up everything and elope with Taiping. But Taiping couldn't move away from his father. He was worried that his mother would suffer more. Taiping didn't want to see his mother suffer because of him. She cried and refused Ah Hang. Later the father came to the cave. He found out his daughter's secret. Putting Taiping down on the ground, he took out his belt and beat him severely. The father left Taiping after the beating to relieve his anger. Clutching his hairpin tightly in his hand, he decided to fight for the sake of Ah Hang. The father returned home and took off his shirt. He said he was not a son. He was your daughter. The father turned pale and put Taiping in the cellar. He told the public that he had gone to his sister's house. The walls of the cellar are covered in scratches. Taiping's heart is as dark as this cellar. No hope in sight. My mother came to visit Taiping. She wept herself to tears. She said she had found her true love, that she and Ah Hang were truly in love. She begs her mother to let her go. On the other hand, Ah Hang took the initiative to find her father. Ah Hang knew that Taiping would never go to his sister's home. Ah Hang threatened his father-in-law that he was in love with Taiping. If he didn't let Taiping go, he would reveal the secret to the public. The response was a slap on the shoulder. At night, when he returned home, his father lit a cigarette. He couldn't help but think of Taiping as a child. He was so innocent and sweet. In order to satisfy his own vanity, he deprived his daughter of her right to be a woman. Now Taiping has become a monster in the eyes of the villagers. The father finally felt regret and remorse. His love for his daughter had awakened him. The father rushed to the corner of the earth, but his wife had already let Taiping go. When he saw his father return, he knelt down and apologized. This time the father did not lose his temper. Instead, He cried and apologized to his wife. He begged his wife and daughter to forgive him. A few days later, Taiping's sister gave birth to a boy. He was so excited to hold the baby and finally have a boy. On the other hand, he fled and put on a beautiful dress. Excited to find Ah Hang, the two embraced each other tightly. The lovers finally fell in love, and they lived their own happy lives. Although the film ends happily, but let's imagine, if the father had remained unconvinced, what would have happened to Taiping? Taiping's identity as a woman dressed as a man is revealed. Except for Ah Hang, no one has come forward to speak up for Taiping. Even if they are women, they are still watching the joke. It's really sad and pathetic.